Good morning everyone, today is day 2 and I'm getting today started early. First things first, we're going to go check out the Roman baths. Roman baths completed, and it was really interesting just finding out about sort of the Roman history and the superstitions behind the healing powers of the waters that probably don't exist. And I even got to try some of the spa waters myself because they had like this sort of urn, I suppose you would call it, and it was actually safe to drink unlike the rest of it. One thing I didn't know about the baths actually was they originally had a roof over them, so they weren't always exposed to the elements as they are today. So yeah, it was really interesting having a look around. Now, I think it's time for lunch, and then on to our next destination. So just behind me is one of the institutions of Bath. It's called the Sally Lunn Eating House, and the history behind it is fairly interesting. So Sally Lunn herself was a woman, and she came to Bath in 1680 as a refugee, and she was also a baker, so she brought with her certain recipes that she'd been making for presumably many years, and she introduced amongst them one of these massive sort of brioche buns, and it became an instant success, and basically the place has been standing ever since. There's a bit of a nonsense around about the 1800s where they decided to do a Londonized version with like sugar and very poor quality and all the rest. Basically, there's two Bath buns, there's this one and there's another one which is apparently not as good. And with this as well, and this is no word of a lie, the recipe for the original bun actually passes down to whoever owns the house through the deeds. So it can't be reproduced anywhere else. It has to still be made in this place, which is probably why it's still standing today, really, because of the whole, you know, uniqueness side of it. That hasn't stopped people copying it, or at least attempting to, but apparently so far they've not been very successful. It's not every day I get to vlog on top of a convertible bus, so I'm going to make the most of it. We're currently back on the tour guide bus from yesterday, because the ticket is still valid, so I might as well use it as a free chauffeur, basically. So, it's a fair few hours later, and the camera did that thing again where it ran out of battery, which is annoying. So I'm going to give a quick rundown of what I've been up to for the entirety of the afternoon. So the first thing that we did was we went to see the Fashion Museum. Fashion isn't something that I'm particularly bothered by, interested in, but it was something that I wanted to check out anyway, mainly because I'd already got a like combo ticket thing, so I'd basically just been throwing money down the drain if I hadn't used it. So I went to go and see that, and there was crinolines and old dresses and clothes from like the 1600s, which was interesting, but more interesting probably was the fact that it was in, I forget the name of the building at the minute, basically a grand Georgian building, which would have been sort of the focal meeting point for things like socials and dances throughout the Georgian period, basically, and that was cool, and I now want a massive chandelier. After that, I went to check out number 1 Royal Crescent, I think it is, and it's basically a restored Georgian townhouse, and you got to see the upstairs with all the glamour and the splendour and all the different ways that they had it set out, basically how they lived at the time. And there was a lot of guides in there, like seriously a lot of guides in there. There was one woman actually, I think it was in the withdrawing room, I remember, and she was mean. Yeah, you had people coming into the room asking questions, and she'd be like snapping at them. I think there was one example where, like, she said, oh, the women would come up here, so they would withdraw to the drawing room. So I think it was me said, all right, so this was like the women and the men separating each other out, and she immediately went, no, that's not what it is at all. I was like, whoa, okay then. So she was interesting, and then after that, what did I do after that? Oh, and then I made use of the bus ticket from yesterday and saw the Skyline tours. I was originally gonna stop off at the last stop, I think it is, that they do on the Skyline tour, to see the ornate gardens, intricate gardens, some kind of garden, decorative garden, I'm not quite sure. I'll put up an annotation here, because trying to remember all the names of these places off the top of my head is really tricky. But basically they were gardens and they were shut by the time I got there, so there wasn't much point. The tour guide was really cool. It was this guy who spent the last 53 years or so he said anyway, living in Bath, and he's a big fan of Georgian architecture, let me tell you. So that was really interesting. And then I ate food, you know, that's really interesting. So now, I'm currently just sort of surveying the city. The problem with it being Sunday is there's not a lot going on. But one thing that is happening is there is going to be a walking tour, which I was going to try and check out yesterday, but didn't. So I'm going to be checking out the Bizarre Bath tour later on tonight. So that should be fun, because I've had that one heavily recommended, let's put it that way.
Oh, lovely, you've done it already. Okay, excellent. So, that's great. Thank you very much indeed. You may now go back to wherever you take. Very good. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm now blindfolded. I can't see a thing. See? How many? Enough, I think. So now, I'm going to try and locate those intersecting ley lines, as I said. Now, when I move off, please do follow on behind me. Stay close. Stick with me. Because it's bloody embarrassing walking off like this on your own, I can tell you. Yeah. I'm in a wide open space. Good. And incidentally, I am aware of the twisted gift of the phrase guided tour. Draw now, my psychic senses go and praise me. Here we go. To the curve. Oh! Curve. Thanks for the warning. Oh, no. I seem to have lost the signal, and I'll try and get it back now. There it is. Quite sadly, and rather tragically I think, the greatest escapologist the world has ever known, Harry Houdini, died childless. Oh. Damn, could you? Again, Harry Houdini died childless. Laughing. Okay, okay, we have a children's playground just down the river there. Apparently they get a bit upset if a dead rabbit floats past in the morning. I think it teaches them about life, but maybe that's just me. So now, nice and secure that. So I'm going to ask you to find a place along the railings where you can see over into the river, so you can see this. I just want to make sure everyone sees this. You're going to remember this for a long time. Thank you. Good luck, Stuart. I think you're going to need it. Okay, wait for him to get his act together. There we go, down he goes, like a pro. Left breath. And choosing to exhale on the way down. That's a good choice there, Stuart. Okay, I think it's at the bottom now, so here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Come on, Stuart. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. There he is. I'm in the I'm amazed. I don't know if anyone else is. Bizarre. Not nervous at all. I could put it around the back if you are. Okay, now.